We're going to review multiplying decimals. I know this is something that you did a little bit of work with when you were in elementary school, so this should be a fairly easy day for you. First thing that you'll do is you will write the problem vertically. You want to make sure that you're writing it up and down so that way everything is organized and easy to work with. You line up the digits though, not the decimal point. Sometimes kids are used to adding and subtracting decimals where they have to line up the decimal point. But with multiplying, you don't need to do that. You're just going to line up the digits like you would if it was any multiplication problem. You multiply as though there is not a decimal point there. You're going to follow your normal procedures. Then you count the number of digits that are behind the decimal points in the problem. Make sure that you have the same number of digits behind the decimal point in your answer. So let's look at a couple of problems. As you'll see, I'm going to take 7.2 times 43, and I'm going to write it just by lining up the digits. The 2 and the 3 are in alignment, the 7 and the 4. I'm not worried about any of the decimal points. Then I'm going to multiply the way that I normally do. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 7 is 21. I've finished with the 3, so that means I need to move over to this 4. So just like with regular multiplication, I need a placeholder. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 7 is 28. And then I'm going to add both of my rows of multiplication here. Now, this is where sometimes kids make mistakes. They need to switch their brains from multiplying to adding, and sometimes we go back and we make a mistake here. 6 plus 0 is 6, 1 plus 8 is 9, 2 plus 8 is 10, so I have to carry, and then 2 and 1 is 3. Now I'm going to count up the number of digits that I have behind the decimal point in my problem. In my first factor, there's only 1. In my second factor, there's 0. So that means I need a total of 1 digit behind the decimal point. So I'm going to come over and I'm going to place that decimal point where I would have that 1 digit there. So then we get our answer of 309 and 6/10. Let's look at another problem. In this problem, I have nothing for a whole number. There's just a 0 in the ones place, so I can leave those off so that way I don't waste a bunch of time doing some silly multiplication that's not going to help. 7 times 3 is 21. 7 times 1 is 7 plus 2 is 9. And then we come to this 0 here. So of course I'm going to use a placeholder. I'm going to use these zeros. Some of you choose to not multiply that line, that's fine. Just be really careful that you are not making silly mistakes when you go through the rest of the multiplication process. So you can see I have here this 0, 9, 1, but let's look at our decimals. I have 2 digits behind the decimal point in the first factor, and 2 digits behind the decimal point in the second factor. So that means I need a total of 4 digits behind the decimal point. But I only have 3 digits in my problem. So that means I need to add another 0. But really what I'm going to do is I'm going to start here and swoop. 1, 2, 3, 4. That 0 needs to come in front and not behind the number. So we end up with an answer of 0.0091. Let's try one more. I want you to pause the video, work this problem out, and then come back and check your work. All right, check your work. Did you get what I got? Make sure you're being very careful and checking for little mistakes. When you have 3 digits in your second factor, you need 2 zeros on this third line of multiplication. Be really careful, pay attention to the details.